Oh, no shot.
No Jumper used to be one of the best podcasts.
Dude, Matt, are you serious? Are they ready for this?
Favorite up-and-coming artists in the underground. From interviews with artists like XXXTentacion and Juice WRLD to putting out music videos for up-and-coming artists, they had one of the biggest and best platforms in hip-hop. But fast forward to 2025, and Adam22, the owner of No Jumper, just put out a video claiming that they are going broke.
So,
dude, maybe you shouldn't have done all those crazy things.
No Jumper is going broke.
Didn't he did some wild shit? I'm not even gonna say this shit.
On
Crazy.
April 2nd of 2025, Adam22 posted a video on the No Jumper channel titled
What do you know?
No Jumper is going broke. He started off by describing how much money he wasted by trying to grow and creating all of these expenses for himself, even though the views were never that great.
We expanded too much during COVID at just about the exact moment that our revenue streams all took a hit. We hired a whole bunch of editors and other employees, and we bought a huge office building that cost us almost $4 million, thinking that the growth that we were experiencing during the pandemic
Why would you spend $4 million?
was going to continue. And unfortunately, that did not happen. Our YouTube numbers, which had doubled or even tripled, gradually returned to normal. Our Snapchat and Facebook numbers, which had exploded during COVID, sometimes even hitting 6 figures a month, shrank by about 80% or more. Our Patreon, which was absolutely killing it for a year or two when we were doing uncensored, aka nude interviews with up-and-coming superstars like Kazumi and Sky Bree, fell off quite a bit with the launch of Plug Talk and a decreased interest in seeing us interview stars.
He also wanted to talk about how big of a hit the channel took.
Yeah, what happened to all the money, the OnlyFans
Adam
money?
continued to say that the No Jumper Instagram account was actually taken down, which also seems like a huge cash flow
makes
source
sense
for them. On top of all this, he also said that they're being sued by a former employee, which is also very expensive for him. Adam said that because of all this, they had to lay off a bunch of their staff. They're trying to sell their multi-million-dollar warehouse that they just moved into like 2 years ago, and they also have to close their store. Regardless, it seemed like this whole video was made basically so that Adam could just get some sympathy and ask fans to support.
But I honestly spend pretty much all of my time trying to create as much content as possible with No Jumper, and I can't really justify doing so unless
in his $4 million studio.
It was a big decision to share this stuff with you guys, but at a certain point I realized that I've been honest with the world about just about everything in my life over the years, and it felt wrong to keep all this stuff that we've been dealing with in secret. So I know what you're thinking. What can you do to help? Well, I do have some ideas, which I'll sort into 3 categories here: free, cheap, and generous.
And if you guys look at the like to dislike ratio or see what people are
This sounds like me trying to raise money for our Yu-Gi-Oh tournament prizes.
Wondering, why do people not feel bad for Adam22 and No Jumper? Why are their finances so bad? Why did they hire all these people and have to lay them off? And you may even be wondering what happened to the original No Jumper style of content. Well, to best understand that, I think it's important to look at No Jumper's origins. Originally, No Jumper began as a YouTube channel / podcast involved in the BMX community. It was created by Adam22, who owned a BMX
This is
store
funny
and was
now.
very involved. He also had some friends that were underground rappers, such as Xavier Wolf. He decided to interview
Back
some
in
of
the
his
day.
friends, which got some views, so he continued interviewing more and more underground rappers. Quickly, he started getting guests like Black Cray, Gangsta Boo, Puya, Suicide Boys, and many more. And what made his podcast so appealing at the time was it felt really underground. Not only was he talking to underground artists, but the whole DIY setup and great conversations just made it feel like a really good way to connect to your favorite artists. He interviewed
Now it
tons
feels
of
like anything
underground
else,
artists, was vlogging
like a regular
concerts,
show.
and even posting music videos for artists like Lil Peep 10 years ago. He got Yachty, Maxo,
Keeping it, or when it was lo-fi, low fidelity, not super high quality, ultra processed, like he was saying, oh, we got all these editors and shit, it made it feel more real. Once you do all this and that, you lose the realness.
Cream.
It's like it's not real when you get that $4 million studio anymore.
Danny Duncan, Larry June, Andy Milonakis, and tons of others. But probably his most iconic interview, and the one that blew him up the most, was his interview with XXXTentacion, right as he was about to blow up. This interview was an hour and 20-minute insight into the life of a crazy, mysterious, and controversial artist who was exploding onto the scene. After this, Adam was able to lock in with tons of people from Riley Reid to Nadeshot for whatever reason. Honestly, if you can think of anybody who was coming up in the last decade, Adam probably interviewed them. Adam was posting vlogs on No Jumper, and like I said, everything felt very DIY. But over time, he went on to bigger artists, he got a new studio, and upgraded pretty much everything. From like 2015 and 2016 to like 2020, No Jumper was one of the leading, most important media platforms in rap. They helped to break so many artists, posted tons of music videos, and behind the scenes for big artists in the game. They were also doing news on other platforms like Instagram, which was probably really helpful for their income. No Jumper also just had a ton of viral moments in their podcast, which helped them to explode.
Wow, Adam, big boy.
There we go.
Oh, your fucking money. Right now. You want a dart right now? You want a dart?
What the hell's going on?
Shout out to the homie Boonk.
Oh my God.
Bro. Help me with this. Okay.
And don't worry, by the way, Boonk is doing much better now, so you guys don't need to worry about that. However, it seemed like eventually chasing viral moments would be what led to No Jumper's downfall. I think what marks the beginning of the end for No Jumper was episode 1 of the No Jumper show. On July 25th of 2019, they aired
Episode
the
one.
first episode featuring Camgirl and Housephone. Housephone in particular had been really tight with Adam since the beginning of No Jumper. They already had started podcasts on No Jumper, but this was the first one where it seemed like Adam tried to take it seriously. And after this, it really just opened the floodgates for tons of new podcasts, hosts, and guests to come. A Compton rapper by the name of AD got his own podcast. Then Housephone got his own podcast. These guys would either do live shows or just pre-recorded shows, and eventually the more and more they brought their friends on, the No Jumper cast grew a ton. It went from Adam and Housephone and a few others to eventually dozens of people with shows or just regularly occurring appearances on the platform. Two specific additions to the No Jumper cast, Crip Mac as a personality and the Thoughts Next Door podcast, would open up a lot of doors to a lot of problems that No Jumper would eventually face. Regardless though, throughout the 2020s, Adam had tons of people hosting their own shows or collabing on shows like Lush, Flacco, Brick Baby, T-Rel, AD, Sharp, and plenty of others. They also had the No Jumper Sports podcast, which is funny because the host Kiki got a tattoo of the logo just for it to be canceled after 15 episodes. But you may be noticing something. A lot of these names are not familiar. Unless you're super deep into rap or this sort of content, it's likely that you are not familiar with a lot of the people that he was trying to bring on and replace himself with. Old fans of the No Jumper channel likely were not really interested in watching tons of random people talk about random things when originally they subscribed for underground rap content or interviews with rappers or Adam talking to rappers or vlogging and things like that. You guys probably don't even know this, but like 2 years ago, they even invited me to join them on the news, and that I think that just goes to show they're inviting anybody. Like, why would I? Who wants to watch me on No Jumper, right? Nobody. So I don't understand why they just have so many random people on their show. They even had a brief podcast with Long Beach Griffey, who's like a YouTube skit guy, which I just thought that was really random. But regardless, the only way that all of these random hosts were going viral was with controversial moments. Like when his co-host Almighty Suspect got into a fight with one of their guests.
Bro, out of here. Ben Franklin knows who I am. Out of here. He knows who the fuck I am. I'm getting money every day. I said Ben Franklin knows who the fuck I am. Who you calling?
Ben Franklin?
I'm calling you a bitch.
Like for real? They're gonna do
Ben knows who the fuck I am.
Who you calling a bitch though?
I'm calling you a bitch.
Yo, he's spit in his face. I'm calling you a bitch. Yo.
Fights like this and intense arguments between host, co-host, and guest
Adam's probably
over time
like
became a common occurrence on the No Jumper platform.
Get
How
this.
did you and Kevo get into it to begin with?
He was power chasing off
Man,
Kevo.
shut up. I just said let the man talk.
What'd you say, Kevo?
Bro, suck my dick, bro. That's a
Hey, stop playing before I smack you out.
do it. Hey, no.
Wait, again? This is the same guy?
Watch out. We ain't doing that here. Watch out.
I'll beat the f out of you.
No, man.
These people are stupid.
No, man.
Literally, as more and more people began coming on the platform and Adam began hiring all of these people, so many fights broke out. Like I mentioned earlier, it seemed as if No Jumper had just began chasing these viral moments rather than actually setting out to make good content or thought-provoking interviews.
Just viral shit. Just fights. Forget about real content.
I think a fan summed it up best in a comment where they said, No Jumper was like watching a group of high school kids.
That's a good way to put it.
Podcast. And it's true, it had become like a modern day world star damn near, where the focus of the content was just low hanging fruit, low IQ entertainment. Like, look at this thumbnail and title, bro. It just looks like some 2015 clickbait YouTube garbage content. No Jumper had began turning into a reality TV show and fans were not happy. Even Adam would eventually admit that it probably wasn't the best idea to chase virality all of the time.
And we didn't even
podcast.
Those viral moments for the
we didn't even get into all the crazy cringe shit.
most part were kind of like destructive to what we were building.
Of course.
And really, like, yeah, it might have been fun in the moment, or it might, like, I'm watching, like, you know, react to like clips from No Jumper at one point, and he's saying like, bro, this looks like a hostile workplace, like people are just being too aggressive towards each other, etc. Like, this is not, and I'm kind of watching it like, yeah.
But it wasn't just because of the controversy, the fights, and the randoms that were always hosting No Jumper that caused it to fail. In part, it was the fact that none of them could seem to get along. The many hosts on this platform began to beef with one another, and a lot of that was fueled by the No Jumper subreddit. Believe it or not, it was actually really obvious to fans that a lot of the people at No Jumper were actually reading the subreddit. They were making burners and constantly responding to and arguing with fans. But then the No Jumper host realized something. There was a lot of negative posts about the No Jumper host, except for Adam and his wife, Lena. Adam was a mod of the No Jumper subreddit, and he was actively removing anything negative about him and his wife, but leaving up tons of negative stuff about his co-host, his employees, and some people who he claimed were his friends. My friend 1111 actually interviewed a mod from the old No Jumper subreddit, and he explained that this was actually a huge deal for No Jumper.
Hold on, there's nothing never negative about Adam and his girl. We like, hold on, that's cool and fine, but now that we see that they're mods, it's crazy because there's something negative about AD's girl, my girl.
People could be getting dragged to hell, but that could stay up. But anything Adam and Lena related, oh, it could go down.
Interesting.
In an instant.
As a moderator of the page, Adam had been banning accounts and deleting posts if they were made about him or Lena, but left them up no matter how bad they were about fellow hosts in their personal lives. After seeing this, our mod guy here then started unbanning these users and apologizing, which Adam clearly did not like and led to him being removed as a mod.
The No Jumper people were so involved in the Reddit that some key info got leaked by a host onto the Reddit, causing the infighting that occurred. They all in Lush was real life. A whole bunch got leaked by a No Jumper people were so involved in the Reddit that some key info got leaked by a host onto the Reddit from a burner account. Then this caused like a whole bunch of drama on the IRL.
How did they
No
leak that
Jumper
on
podcast.
accident?
This wasn't just Reddit anymore, this was real life, which is crazy because this whole Reddit incident caused a huge fallout between Lush, Flacco, AD, and Adam. And this was not the only infighting that occurred. Remember how earlier I said House Phone was with Adam from like the beginning of No Jumper? Well, they also had a falling out after Adam interviewed a transgender woman named Gracie Jane. In this podcast, they talked about how she had hooked up with House Phone.
Oh, come on. You've already sold out entire life here.
Yeah, well.
That looked down upon to expose that somebody may have been with a trans person. If,
Yeah, absolutely. I sign NDAs and I take them very seriously, so just letting everybody
you didn't
know
get
that.
one I'm guessing.
He didn't pay me. Fuck him.
Seems like I'm worried about people calling me a bad friend for just not editing this and putting it out. They're gonna be mad at me, but I'm just.
He's just gonna be. Well, how about this? Acting like you didn't do some that you did do, and you know you did.
I've been friends with him for like, and I just don't want to be like.
The truth is the truth.
Apparently House Phone and Adam had talked about it before it went live, and he asked Adam to cut that part. But then Adam claimed that he told his editor to censor everything about House Phone. He did show the text, and he did show the part where he said that he would just wanted it cut, and the editor accidentally left it in. And fans very quickly pieced together
accidentally, but you can edit stuff out using the YouTube video editor.
Interview. Fans were
and it doesn't remove the video, it just edits the clip out that you're trying to take out.
Extremely upset with Adam, commenting things like, Adam's not a bad friend. He's not a friend at all. He doesn't respect any of his employees. He's just scared of half of them. Another said, the fact this interview is still up speaks volumes. Eventually, House Phone confronted Adam on the podcast, and things got very serious.
You're talking about, yeah, he's been going through the mom shit. He's been going through the health. You talking about the person that fucking raised me, that birthed me, my best friend that died? Oh, just he's been going through the mom shit.
But are you actually acting like I have some kind of disrespect for your mom when
You're disrespectful as
I paid for the fucking
First of
funeral
all-
as soon
first
as
of
it
all-
happened just because.
No. Pussy, nigga. Come on, bro. Not here, bro. Not here. Not here. Pussy, nigga. Not here. Come on. No, not here, bro. All right, let me go. Not here, my nigga.
Because of all of the beefs between hosts, Adam, and the fans, half of the No Jumper cast left between like 2022 and 2024. After this incident, the entire subreddit actually
I had no idea it was like this.
turned on Adam because he was deleting every post about the situation. So the fans created a subreddit called No Jumper V2.
Oh my
which was
gosh.
Moderated, became very popular, and was very critical of Adam and No Jumper. It's really weird, and you'll notice this throughout the video, but it's like No Jumper has a really strong core fan base, but that fan base kind of just hates No Jumper. It's really interesting. Anyways, because of all the issues Adam had with his co-hosts and employees, it eventually led to him getting called out and exposed.
That core fan base is just so disappointed at what it became.
Multiple times for some pretty controversial.
It's all
things.
they've got
I'm not
left
gonna
in
get
the
too
whole
deep into this because
situation.
this could be
It's
like
the
a
only
whole hour-long
it's the
video in
only
and of
enjoyment
itself,
they
but
can get.
basically, Adam was allegedly involved in some weird things that were dug up on the internet that involved minors. An old blog post of his was dug up where he said, now any of the math inclined out there are probably reading this and thinking something like, she's 19 now, you were 23 then. How old was she then? Well, she was 16. But come on, man, look at her. She's 18 or 19 in most of the pics here, but she didn't look much different at all then. If statutory rape is wrong, I didn't want to be right. Now, I can make the argument that the age of consent is 16 in Canada, although I'm sure that traveling from America to Canada to have sex with a minor is still legal as hell. But really, fucking argument. She was stupid hot and I wanted in. Now, to be fair to Adam, he never said in this post that they hooked up around that time. He said that he actually started dating a different girl, and then after Adam and that girl started dating, by that point this girl was 19, so then they hooked up, which I think some people would classify as grooming. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually researched an entire video about all of these like weird sexual controversies that Adam22 was involved in, but it was a long time ago, and I was just coming off a cease and desist, so I was kind of scared to post this one, to be honest, so I never did. But I have a ton of research on all of this stuff, and there was a bunch more weird things that he got caught up in, like on a super old forum from 2006, when after being asked the age
where is this
caught up in, like on a super
is this from the come up
old forum from 2006, when after being asked the age range of girls he's been with, he said, I don't think I've done any 17-year-olds since besides the one last year. Also, I am 22 right now. He also said on this forum, 15's a good age. That last one was probably like a 2006 edgy joke, but still, it's really weird. This is why a lot of people turned on Adam22, and a lot of people even started calling him Adam16. Regardless, because of all of this stuff, a lot of people did not like Adam22, whether they were fans of No Jumper or not. It seemed like the overall hip-hop community as well was not a fan of Adam22, nor his platform, because of how controversial they had become. And that's why I have this theory that a lot of artists are no longer going on No Jumper for interviews, especially bigger ones, because it doesn't look good for their PR teams. On top of all of this, Adam was also
after all this controversy and the fight, who wants to go on there? And that's gonna ruin their whole business.
Toes into political podcasts, which just isn't ever gonna come without controversy, especially when he's having people like Nick Fuentes and Sneeko on. So not only was the entire crew falling apart, but people were beginning to hate the main guy himself, Adam22. And on top of all of that, No Jumper had really began to lose their identity as a platform in general. Over time, hip-hop content stopped becoming the main focus of No Jumper, and they started talking about one of two things. First, they started interviewing a ton of porn stars. If you didn't know, Adam22 started an adult film media thing with his wife Lena called Plug Talk. So porn stuff is something that he's been involved in a lot over the last couple of years.
Dude, look at this picture of him. It's crazy.
Also, he went mega viral for letting his wife do some solo content with another guy, which has definitely changed fans' opinions on him. A lot of people now view him as a cuck and a sellout and all sorts of things.
Yeah, now it's crazy.
Because of their involvement in porn, Adam and his co-host started interviewing a ton of stars on No Jumper. It used to be on occasion, like with really big ones, like Riley Reid, for example, but then it started happening more and more often.
It feels like that's all it is now.
Complaining about it because like the first half decade of No Jumper's lifespan was strictly hip-hop content, strictly underground. So when a bunch of the content became porn or OnlyFans related, it really seemed to rub fans the wrong way. But the other thing that caused problems with fans was how deep into gang stuff Adam and the hosts of No Jumper were getting involved in. And this may actually play a hand into why
Wait,
No
was that
Jumper is
real?
going broke, or at least that he's claiming they are. If you guys, like myself, haven't been tuned into No Jumper except for maybe the occasional interview once a year, or if you're just not very in the loop at all, No Jumper has regularly been having a lot of LA gang members on, and they frequently talk about gang-related things. And recently, that's come back to bite them. Brick Baby, who I mentioned earlier, and Loose Cannon were recently indicted on a RICO, and both of these guys frequented No Jumper. They were connected to a guy named Big U, who allegedly is like the leader of a gang called the Rollin' 60s Crips. I don't know much about gang stuff and I'm not going to pretend to, but basically it's a bunch of gang affiliated people hanging around No Jumper all the time and discussing what they do on the actual show. Whack 100, another guy who is
stupid could they
involved in
be?
the music industry and is heavily affiliated with No Jumper, is also affiliated with Big U, and there's even a clip of Adam trolling him about it on the podcast.
Back, what's up with this screenshot that Traplo Ross sent me of you begging Big U not to kill you?
That's cap. That's AI.
It's in the indictment. It's in the indictment that you were saying, don't do this. My wife, my kids in the car. Draws. Don't do this.
That's not a text message.
As someone who hasn't been tapped into No Jumper for years, it's so weird seeing him talk about all this really serious gang stuff rather than just like interviewing people. And I don't think that most fans are really into this sort of content either.
When I see Lovejoy basically putting a...
Dude, what is he, 40 now? There's like THC candies in the background.
murder on Big U and claiming that he's looking for information about it or whatever. This is very confusing to me. Like, how in any way is this acceptable?
There's so much more detail to this, and I'm not really educated on it. It's like a really giant web of stuff. So if you want to learn more, I would check out this video by Point and Shoot. It's really good, and it really captures what's going on right now with the gang stuff. But regardless, if you guys want a more simplified version, there's basically just a ton of gang-related people hanging out around No Jumper, and a bunch of dummies were talking about this stuff publicly on the platform. It also got to the point where people were calling Adam the feds because he was encouraging all of this self-snitching on his show, asking questions the police could possibly use. I mean, look at this clip.
I saw this video that alleged that it was you involved in this crazy ass shootout. What was that situation?
Bro.
Maybe it might not have been you. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't think it was me.
Okay.
What?
But that wasn't related to any of the cases that you caught?
It's like, bro, what do you want me?
Okay.
So eventually, after the Crips who hung around No Jumper got picked up, the police actually went to Adam. Rack 100 claimed that he got arrested, but Adam cleared that up and said that never happened, with some even claiming this was a publicity stunt.
A lot of claims being made. Rack 100 said you got picked up by the feds. Can I ask you, where's that coming from?
I mean, Wack got a overactive imagination, to say the least. I was not picked up by the feds, but they did pay a visit to my residence, and my lawyer spoke to them, and they made it clear that I'm not in any kind of trouble right now. I'm not being investigated, but what they did want to get their hands on, which is kind of crazy, is that they wanted to see the cease and desist that we received from Big U maybe a year ago that basically was requesting that we remove a podcast appearance in which loose cannon said that Big U had prior knowledge of Nipsey Hussle's death before it actually happened.
Regardless, the police definitely watched some No Jumper to help themselves in this case.
See a lot of people saying that 22 is the reason why Brick got caught up. Out of here. 22, you know what I do. I put people in position, put them on the podcast, give them jobs, help them make legal money. A lot of the shit that people are getting caught up for, especially with Brick, it's like, I'm not seeing anything that says anything about stuff that he's done in the last 2 years since he's been with us, right? So, you know, end of the day, I do employ people from the streets, and I guess, you know, people from the streets sometimes get caught up in federal RICO indictments, whatever the this shit is.
But lots of fans still blame Adam. The reason I bring all of this up is because it got so hectic, and I can't imagine being a fan of No Jumper from the early days and seeing the entire platform turn into tons of people that nobody knows, a bunch of porn interviews, and just gang-related stuff all the time. After the news about
yeah,
No
what's with the
Jumper
gang
broke
affiliation?
out, a lot of fans began to theorize that the reason he said he's going to make all of these changes and the fact that they're going broke was because he got too wrapped up into the gang stuff. Like one fan commented, "I smell a move and rebrand from street gang members back to rappers. Who wants to bet?" Another person said, "Nah, y'all going broke because you keep bringing them corny ass artists and gang members on. Don't nobody want to hear that shit." Which
True.
I think really amplifies the public sentiment. Regardless, after everything that's gone down the past like 5 years, I don't think most fans feel too bad for Adam. 2 years before this even happened, a fan said on Reddit, "The collapse of No Jumper needs to be studied in business schools as a case study on how poor leadership can cause a company to collapse. Every decision made by Adam literally is the opposite of what he should have done. From not drawing up proper contracts with staff, him literally being missing from the office half the time, leaving Josh to handle staff, exposing your friend and longtime employee, to publicly embarrassing and firing an employee on air. The list is long of all the terrible management decisions made by No Jumper and Adam specifically." Another fan on Reddit said this, "No Jumper has become a cesspool of sensationalism and superficiality. What started as a platform for underground culture has devolved into a parade of clout-chasing and cringeworthy interviews.
That's
The hosts
so
seem more
accurate.
interested in creating drama and viral moments than in delivering any actual hip-hop content. The lack of depth and constant pandering to the lowest common denominator makes it hard to take the whole channel seriously." Someone responded saying, "This ain't a hip-hop channel, it's a gang channel at this point." Clearly, No
True.
Jumper has lost their way, and it's finally being reflected in their finances. I think a really good contrast to the No Jumper channel is the Joe Budden podcast, because over the years, he's just really maintained a hip-hop focused and centric discussion and hasn't chased clout, tried to go viral, or any of that stuff, at least too much. Whereas the No Jumper podcast just devolved into a huge mess with everything I've described in this video. So maybe Adam will try to take the channel back to its roots, but after all of the controversy and things he's been exposed or called out for, I doubt they will ever get back to where they once were. I could probably have made this video 2 hours, but I wanted to kind of get this news out a little bit sooner. It's like 4 a.m. and I'm really tired. So if you guys like this video, you might like my video about MTV and their corporate downfall as well. It's not doing too hot, so you guys should check it out. It's a really good video, I promise. So you guys should check that out. But anyways, if you liked, make sure to leave a like and even consider subscribing down below. Other than that, though, it's been your boy Matty Balls, and
I had no idea it was that bad.
So one of the hottest topics on my channel used to be the downfall of Adam22 and the dismantling of his brand No Jumper. Basically, No Jumper completely imploded back in 2023, not only losing some of their most popular talents, but also creating this never-ending beef between Adam and the at the time recently departed.
Paid for the fucking funeral as soon as it happened just because.
Now after this, Adam will look at his brands in a completely different light.
I didn't set down any boundaries in the beginning. It was just like, here's a table, here's these cameras, here's these 4 million subscribers, do whatever the f you guys want.
And while people enjoyed the content farm that No Jumper had become, he had held the claim that he was actually losing money on these new shows that he had created, and obviously the talent that he had hired. After this,
Do whatever
Adam
you
seemed
want.
extra anxious to cash out and completely change the way that he was operating, hiring some new talent while retaining some other guys, and really just trying to keep No Jumper's head above water. And I feel like the real desperation would not start until his wife Lena announced that she would be appearing in an adult video with corn star Jason Love. Keep in mind, this came right on the heels of her and Adam getting married, and of course we all know how that thing ended. And with Adam completely leaning into this arc of his career, even calling himself the king of all cups, aka the guys with the special little chairs in the corner of the room, I actually predicted that this situation would cause permanent damage to his online reputation.
Do you think that you her better than Adam did?
Well, obviously, yes.
Which, looking back, is exactly what happened. It's like Adam entered a never-ending inferno of getting roasted online. So of course he would double down on
What
the
an idiot.
humiliation and the attention by hosting a web show giving away his wife to the man of his choice.
We're gonna get you out of the situation.
Right, but the whole idea is that we're gonna do it together.
Just went there and just pulled my pants down and showed my French baguette to Lena and Adam.
But I had to bring. I don't think he wanted.
Now this pretty much ended the same way, only this time Adam would actually cross swords with dude. Now since then, Adam had not really been worth talking about. Honestly, his antics just got stale after he showed up on stream wearing a G-string.
I'm gonna put on this thong and I'm gonna go into the news and I'm gonna say hi to everybody.
And then he was quote-unquote acting like he was shooting a gay scene with none other than Jack Doherty's brother. Something he would later reveal was apparently an April Fool's prank.
To troll the world into believing that I am a homosexual.
But honestly, at that point, I don't think anyone really cared
Dude,
enough to
something's
be
wrong
tricked.
with this
And now
guy.
apparently Adam has been struggling financially, or at least No Jumper. Recently, they were actually sued by 2 former employees at his company who alleged some sort of discriminatory termination. And then Adam even promoted an alleged crypto rug pull called Coin. And keep in mind, this is something that he was dead against in the past, yet he was completely unapologetic when CoffeeZilla questioned what the hell he was doing.
I reached out. I said, hey, you shouldn't run a coin. It's lame, and you're gonna scam or get scammed. Then Adam22 says, how else am I gonna afford all this?
Haha, it's actually kind of
really
funny,
made me
bro.
wonder, like, why would Adam
He's
feel
just
the
being
need to
funny. How am
scam
I
his
else
own
am I gonna
fans
afford
for
this
at most
galaxy,
a couple
guys?
$100,000? And now we might finally have the
man,
answer to
that's
that,
fucking
as
funny,
around a
dude.
month later, several of his podcast hosts and friends have been detained in a large
what?
scale gang sweep, and even Adam himself had some sort of contact with the feds as well.
I made it 41 years into this life before I had involvement, conversation with federal agents.
And now Adam made this video claiming that No Jumper has gone completely broke, but some actually believe this is to avoid paying possible legal fees, or at the very least that he is lying with an agenda. Alright guys, so here we are in the actual video where Adam claims
I'm
that
broke,
No
give us
Jumper is
money.
going broke.
Basically is what
Apparently
he's
they're
saying.
having some sort of logistical issues, and some other unexpected expenses have come up that are basically killing his business.
So there's something that I've been hiding from you guys. No Jumper is going broke. I know that might sound crazy. Between both of our YouTube channels last month, we got over 25 million views. We're doing well on Facebook and Snapchat. We employ quite a few of the hottest content creators on the West Coast, and we pump out an insane amount of content on a weekly basis.
Yeah, 25 million views is really nothing to scoff at, especially when most of them are like really long form views. I mean, I gotta estimate that off AdSense alone, they're clearing at least 6 figures, but you guys have to remember that No Jumper has like a massive operation. I think they had purchased like a $5 million building back in 2022 or 2023. And at the time, I had praised them for doing this. I always think it's cool when people can make like a media conglomerate like that. I thought he was going to be like his own little version of Barstool, but I think Adam witnessed firsthand how quickly you can just start burning through money simply because you own this insane building. And when you're just doing a podcast, like, do you really need all of that? Like, I get that it looks cool. I get that you want it to be like maybe the next Barstool, but that business model, especially in this economy, is just really rough.
How could we be going broke? Well, let's start here. We expanded too much during COVID at just about the exact moment that our revenue streams all took a hit. We hired a whole bunch of editors and other employees, and we bought a huge office building that cost us almost $4 million, thinking that the growth that we were experiencing during the pandemic was going to continue.
And this is a problem that a lot of businesses made during the pandemic. They thought that because people were at home and people were feeling good spending their stimmy money, you know, back before inflation, that, oh, these sales
the
are
good
gonna
old
last
days
forever.
before
And now
inflation.
that the economy has essentially flipped on its head, well, a lot of these businesses just cease to exist.
Our YouTube numbers, which had doubled or even tripled, gradually returned to normal. Our Snapchat and Facebook numbers, which had exploded during COVID, sometimes even hitting 6 figures a month, shrank by about 80% or more. Our
Goddamn.
Patreon, which was
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I was getting contacted by a couple of reps from Snapchat that wanted to take what I was doing on YouTube and basically make a series, you know, for the Snapchat stories or whatever. And they were telling me, like, oh, we can offer you double your YouTube revenue. Apparently, the numbers were insane. Almost like when Twitter first announced their Twitter Blue program, they were paying out a lot of money, but over time, the model was just not sustainable once you keep letting more and more people in.
Was absolutely killing it for a year or two when we were doing uncensored, aka nude interviews with up-and-coming superstars like Kazumi and Sky Bree. Fell off quite a bit with the launch of Plug Talk and a decreased interest in seeing us interview stars.
I mean, let's be honest for a second, guys. No one is watching Korn so that they can know about the girl's personality. No one's saying, oh, I wonder where she wants to get taken for a date. I wonder how she got into this industry. Was there trauma involved? Of course. And the other thing to me is there really that many people out there that want to see Adam getting busy on camera? Like, I get that his girl is like the focal point of the Korn business that they do, but at some point aren't these people going to be like, yo, we're sick of Adam. We don't want to see him on that orange couch no more. As a matter of fact, if you've ever paid for one of his films, I'm looking at you completely sideways.
You might recall that the channel took quite a hit when approximately 8 of our hosts left the platform in March of 2023. Although we've definitely largely recovered and managed to build up a very healthy roster of talent since then, that certainly took a toll on our business for a while as well.
Yeah, I mean, they did recover pretty nicely from all that backlash.
But we were still solidly profitable. That is, until the last few months, where we experienced 2 major L's that we never could have seen coming. First, we lost the No Jumper Instagram. After almost 10
Yeah,
years
they
of
said that.
building
We
it
heard
up
that
and
before.
essentially no strikes on our account, we got taken down one day, and we still have absolutely no idea why. We were bringing in a very solid amount of cash monthly that was keeping us afloat via selling sponsored posts on the account.
You know, I do always wonder if those type of Instagram promotions actually lead to real growth for an artist. I
never got
feel
the
like
Crash
you'd be better
Stars.
off trying to do something a little bit unique and trying to get your music trending that way through some sort of like sick little reel, sick little short video.
In addition to that, we have been hit with a bullshit lawsuit from a former employee. Now, essentially everything in this lawsuit is completely fictional, and every lawyer that I've spoken to about it has described
I don't even
this
know
as
what you
basically
collect
an
from them.
extortion attempt, but it still cost us a ton of money already, and it's expected to cost us many hundreds of thousands of dollars to see this through to completion.
God damn. I mean, yeah, I've heard that those legal
Oh,
fees will drain you
Stardust.
quick.
True,
I mean,
yes,
I would
yes.
think if they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on this, it must be somewhat serious. And yeah, this is apparently the court case right here. And so yeah, apparently this Riley Garcia and this Yuri guy, who I think I remember, are suing No Jumper, Adam, somebody named Josh, and somebody named Nicholas. So yeah, they're basically saying that No Jumper and Adam right here are responsible for some sort of acts of discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. I mean,
You can
honestly, for all
trade
shoddy
the
things
Stardust
that were
for
going
something.
on
I don't know what
in
you
Jumper,
trade
like,
it for,
even
though.
before all these individuals were employed, I feel like this shit could turn to a damn class action lawsuit, like on some Surviving No Jumper shit. Allegedly.
No, man.
Either way, I think this is the guy Yuri. They probably don't want to show his
let me
face for legal
see.
reasons, but
It's insane to me that a person that we did so much for can just invent some grievances out of thin air and cost us this much money as a result, but somehow that's our reality and we have to fight this rather than just give in to this piece of shit.
I mean, yeah. 'Cause
You
if
trade
keep it
them
to
for
one
some
person,
kind of
it kinda
ring?
sets the precedent,
I don't know
like,
what it
oh,
does,
everyone
though.
come sue me now. I'm just going to be handing out settlements.
So as a result of all these circumstances, we are making some changes. Over the last few months, we laid off multiple employees in an attempt to reduce our expenses as much as possible. We closed down our store on Melrose, and we're in the early stages of selling our current warehouse and moving into a smaller space. To be
Damn.
honest,
They're selling
aside
the
from
$4 million
layoffs, which
warehouse.
sucked, I'm pretty happy about a lot of these changes. I've realized that I should have paid more attention to DJ Vlad and kept my overhead as low as possible, particularly in terms of staff and location.
Well, yeah, I'm sure that massive building that I guess he bought turned into an insane fucking headache. And I would say the only saving grace here is that really only No Jumper could go bankrupt. Like, it's hard for me to see them coming after his personal assets if he has everything set up correctly.
Confident that once we get the building sold, we'll be in a pretty solid financial position again as a business. I've got another business in the form of Plug Talk, and I've got a pretty decent investment portfolio on a personal level. It was a big decision to share this stuff with you guys, but at a certain point I realized that I've been honest with the world about just about everything in my life over the years, and it felt wrong to keep all this stuff that we've been dealing with in secret.
Adam, come on, bro. Be honest about the rug pull, then.
What happens with the come up BMX nowadays? Like, does he still own that? I'm sure he does, right?
Help? Well,
I wasn't thinking
do
that.
have
Probably
some
doesn't
ideas.
make any
I'll sort
money.
into 3 categories here: free, cheap, and generous.
Oh, here we
Free.
go. Adam's about to ask the audience for some money to pay those legal fees.
We are really trying to get serious about embracing our members here on YouTube.
Yeah, how do you guys feel about memberships on YouTube? Have you joined anyone's channel? I'm always getting emails encouraging me to do that type of thing, but I don't know, it's just hard for me to see someone in my audience spending like the same price as Netflix or something like that, just so they can watch an extra piece or like an uncensored version of my content.
$5 a month, we've got a ton of awesome benefits, including being able to watch all of our interviews free of censorship and bleeped words before they're released to the public. Members only chat for all of our live stream content.
Wow,
I
you
mean,
can't
yeah,
even
I guess if
access
you're,
the
like,
come
a
up how it used to
huge-time
be.
fan and you really want to be in like the members only chat, that's the only reason I can see doing something like this. And I'll also say, like, if you're getting endless entertainment value from somebody and it's pretty much all free, yes, I can see you throwing them like $5 a month.
And for those of you who have more money to spend, we're introducing a mega premium $100 tier to our memberships that will get your name added to the
$100.
It's not gone. He just changed it, I think, just to like a store.
For a lot of people.
Sell shit.
But hey, you get those producer credits.
And it will also get you consistent advice and opinions on your
Oh
music
my
submissions
God.
with 1 free submission per month and discounted additional songs.
Honestly, if you're a young up-and-coming artist and you have $100 to spend on your career, this is not where I would put it. I remember back in the day, No Jumper would always do these like listening to your music live streams where maybe like 10, 15,000 people were tuned in and they were just playing different people's music who would send them $100.
I like it. I want to.
It's not bad.
I want to hang out with him and be depressed.
And I really want to know if one single person or one single song actually blew up from doing that. Because when you're a broke artist, $100 isn't just like chump change. I just think you're still much better off trying to do like a Facebook or Instagram, maybe even a TikTok campaign. And you can at least be a lot more precise with what type of demographic you're going for.
There's my update. I've been kind of thinking about telling you guys about all this stuff for a while. I'm not begging for sympathy or anything like that. I'm just being realistic about owning a media business.
And honestly, guys, for once, I don't really see this as something to really clown at him about. This is something that a lot of businesses all over the country are experiencing right now. And I do think it's really easy to expand.
Everyone's
you feel
broke.
Like you have a really good thing going. You feel like the community loves it. Like, there was this barbecue trailer nearby, and they were like a hit classic in South Austin. They go and try and move into a huge brick and mortar, and it just completely fucks everything up. The service was bad, they were always running out of food, stealing tips from the wait staff. It just ended up being this huge shit show. And within like 4 months, this previously really popular food trailer that was making a ton of money went completely bankrupt. Even back a couple of years ago, I thought about making like essentially a smaller version of what his office was, where people could come in if they want and rent the space out and do podcasts, but I thought mainly I would use the space as an office. But then as I started renting out spaces and talking to the people that, you know, own these type of media places, I realized that it was essentially a money pit. Like, I remember I paid like $400 to shoot at this place for 2 hours, a podcast with my buddy Danny. And I remember in the main office, this guy had a little TV that had his like whole booking schedule up. And that shit was free as a fucking bird. No one was booking that spot. And it was actually pretty nice. And yeah, I just think in this type of economy, it's really hard to run this type of business model. Honestly, it's been a really long time since I've watched any No Jumper content. But hey, someone's still watching, apparently 25 million views a month. So I think that they're gonna be all right. Y'all let me know down below if you think
I never really watched it. Just saw the viral shit and knew it was crazy.
Always, I want